crowd fell silent. Wang Hongzhe curiously removed his reading glasses, wiped them with a cloth, and put them back on. Zhao Linghua and Qi Tianyun exchanged glances, each reflecting confusion in the other's eyes. Major General Chu gaped at the model, which was only the size of a basketball, exclaiming, "Why is it so small?" Su Zhihui and Zhao Ling stood nearby, equally perplexed. Why is the aircraft so small? Li Jing and Wang Jun were similarly bewildered. An 8th-generation aircraft, required to reach space, must attain a second cosmic velocity. But what is the standard for that? It's a speed of 112 kilometers per second. How could such a small aircraft achieve that velocity? The crowd remained puzzled. Nevertheless, De Luo had indeed entered the wind tunnel laboratory, and Zhao Linghua pressed the high-speed start button. As the internal wind pressure of the laboratory began to rise, a fierce gale swept through. Pei Su's voice resonated. I must explain one of De Luo's core technologies, the clock mechanism. The clock mechanism draws inspiration from the cyclotron, leading me to develop a theoretical framework that I shall tentatively refer to as the clock, discus, and donkey cart theory. However, I must clarify that the De Luo is not an aircraft primarily developed by me, and thus, the donkey cart theory is not applicable. It is relevant only to the clock and discus theory. Just as Pei Su was about to elucidate the underlying principles, confusion enveloped the audience. Wait, Zhao Linghua interjected. Unable to contain himself, I understand your eagerness, but please first explain what you mean by the clock, discus, and donkey cart theory. Chapter 44, Had I known, I would have snatched back Harbin Institute of Technology. Pei Su gazed deeply at the large aircraft named Tianqi No. 1, lost in profound contemplation. The engine of Tianqi No. 1 roared, producing a sound that was somewhat distinct. It was not akin to a conventional aircraft engine, but rather reminiscent of a rocket engine. Indeed, not far away. Wang Jun nodded in affirmation. The engine employed in our Tianqi No. 1 is not a traditional aircraft engine. Instead, it is a novel engine that amalgamates the advantages of both rocket engines and conventional aircraft engines. The benefit is that we can achieve the second cosmic velocity in a significantly shorter time. No sooner had he spoken than the roar of Tianqi No. 1's engine escalated within the wind tunnel laboratory. The tremendous noise reverberated, and the ceiling began to hum ominously. At that moment, astonishingly, the ceiling opened. As the ceiling gates swung open, Zhao Linghua promptly pressed the timer in his hand, his gaze fixed on the aircraft's timer, revealing an unmistakable astonishment. 2 minutes and 24 seconds. Tianluo No. 1 took 3 minutes to reach the second cosmic velocity, while Tianqi No. 1 achieved it in less than 2.5 minutes. This alone was sufficient to demonstrate that Wang Jun's Tianqi No. 1 outperformed Li Jing's Tianluo No. 1 in terms of performance. At this moment, Li Jing's countenance was far from pleasant. Su Zhihui, too, was astonished that a military laboratory in the Magic City, which did not specialize in aviation, had produced such an exquisite 8th-generation aircraft. Ha! Wang Jun's heart roared with laughter. However, with everyone's eyes upon him, he endeavored to maintain an air of composure during this joyous occasion. He struggled to appear steady. But the sight of Li Jing's somewhat grim expression brought him a sense of inexplicable delight, akin to enjoying a chilled watermelon on a sweltering summer day. Ahem. This is our Tianqi No. 1's innovative endeavor in the realm of engines. Traditional aircraft engines are remarkably stable, yet they lack the ability to provide acceleration comparable to that of rocket engines. Conversely, traditional rocket engines are exceedingly forceful, but are notoriously unstable and have a notably short lifespan. We have integrated the lateral mode of flight engines with the longitudinal mode of rocket engines, conducting over 3,000 attempts on the internal engine node structure, ultimately discovering a configuration that combines the merits of both. Our Tianqi No. 1 possesses the stability of conventional aircraft, while also boasting the fastest acceleration ever recorded. At this juncture, Wang Jun paused momentarily. Perhaps I may assert with some certainty that our Tianqi No. 1 is likely the fastest 8th-generation aircraft in terms of acceleration in the world. Applause erupted from Wang Hongzhe, who had witnessed this entire spectacle. What a magnificent conception. Rocket engines and traditional aircraft engines differ greatly. One could say they belong to entirely different domains. The ability to merge them is undoubtedly not an achievement that can be realized in a short span of time. This accomplishment indeed signifies that Tianqi No. 1 has undergone meticulous refinement. This ingenious concept left Wang Hongzhe in awe, and Zhao Linghua and Qi Tianyun echoed his admiration. Even at the Lonka Institute, Li Yong and Wang Jiang exchanged incredulous glances. Clearly, the maturity of Tianqi No. 1 surpassed that of Tianluo No. 1, rendering it a more technically advanced aircraft. However, the Lonka Institute was not to be underestimated. Greetings, everyone. I am Li Yong, here to elucidate our A255. The A255 boasts a length of 242 meters, a wingspan of 1311 meters, and an extreme flight speed of 119 kilometers per second. The technology of the A255 represents the pinnacle of what the Lonka Institute can achieve. As Li Yong began to gradually elaborate on the 8th-generation aircraft named A255, the aircraft, measuring over 20 meters in length, was introduced into the wind tunnel laboratory. Zhao Lingwa pressed the activation button for the wind tunnel laboratory, eager to hear Li Yong's discourse. In fact, our approach shares similarities with our colleagues at Kyoto University Laboratory and the Magic City Military Industrial Laboratory. We are also striving to rectify the drawbacks of 8th-generation aircraft and enhance their initial acceleration. Tianluo No. 1 employs dual rocket engine technology, while Tianqi No. 1 utilizes a new engine that integrates rocket and aircraft technologies. We, too, have conducted approximately 14,000 attempts on the engine. Ultimately, we chose to utilize a turbojet engine as the core of this aircraft, which possesses the most powerful output in the world. In terms of acceleration to the second cosmic velocity, the time required will be minimized. Before Li Yong could finish his speech, a tremendous roar resonated within the wind tunnel laboratory. The ceiling slowly opened. The A255's acceleration exceeded the wind pressure of only 112 kilometers per second. It made a slight motion toward the ceiling. However, it did not exit the wind tunnel laboratory and instead settled back down calmly. Zhao Lingwa instinctively pressed the timer in his hand, staring at the displayed value in disbelief. The time recorded was 1 minute and 58 seconds. The A255 from the Lonka Institute had astonishingly reduced the acceleration process to under 2 minutes. How could this be possible? Zhao Lingwa nearly lost control, whispering in astonishment. In the midst of this awe, Qi Tianyun, Wang Hongzhe, Li Jing, and Wang Jun all wore serious expressions, overwhelmed by shock. The acceleration had indeed been compressed to under 2 minutes. Such power was quite alarming. How was this achieved? Even though turbojet engines are the domain of high-speed aircraft, the power required for this feat must surely be astronomical. Furthermore, this could not possibly be supported by an aircraft weighing only a few dozen tons. Just as the crowd was engulfed in astonished disbelief, Li Yong, with deliberate composure, remarked, "Of course, this is primarily attributable to Pei Su. Pei Su, my little nephew, once imparted to me that the key to 8th-generation aircraft lies in their connection to space stations. Consequently, this aircraft's weight must allocate at least 50 tons for the establishment of a local AI server. Therefore, from the outset of our design, we did not consider any issues related to lightweighting the aircraft." As he spoke, Li Yong spread his hands. A 50-ton local AI server has already rendered this aircraft quite heavy. Why not add a bit more weight? Approaching this from the perspective of a weight-centric aircraft, we chose to create the most powerful turbojet engine in the world. At this moment, everything became clear. Had it not been for Pei Su, Li Yong would not have approached the design from a weight-centric perspective and would not have developed the world's most powerful turbojet engine. In other words, the A255 from Lonka Institute has outshone the laboratories of Kyoto University and Shanghai Military Industry, drawing inspiration partially from Pei Su's support. After much deliberation, it ultimately leads back to Pei Su. Wang Hongzhe, listening to this, felt an increasing pang of heartache. Had he known this child was a genius, he should have emulated Major General Chu and whisked him away immediately. He should have snatched him back to Harbin Institute of Technology. Chapter 45. What is a clock? A discus, and the donkey theory? All eyes turned to Pei Su. After all the twists and turns, it was still Pei Su. Is this child truly dominating the realm of the 8th-generation aircraft? At this moment, even old Qin, who stood nearby, had not anticipated that it was Pei Su who had inspired Li Yong, leading to the birth of the A255. A smile crept across his face. Pei Su's recent performances replayed in his mind in segments. Li Yunchang remarked that this child possesses the potential to bring others together, a typical talent for leadership. He had independently completed the 5th-generation defense military vehicle project and is now dominating the 8th-generation aircraft field as well. It seems that a successor has emerged. Amidst the multitude of gazes fixed on Pei Su, Su Zhihui and Zhao Ling appeared particularly complex. Indeed, their emotions were a blend of joy and sorrow. They felt elated for their outstanding cousin, but also a tinge of sadness. Both Su Zhihui and Zhao Ling are quite gifted in the field of scientific research. Without talent, one could not become the chief designer of the Kyoto Laboratory or a key figure in the Shanghai Military Industry Laboratory in their 30s. Yet, in comparison to their cousin, their talents seemed to pale. Their cousin was exhibiting an extraordinary research talent at an alarming pace, a speed unforeseen by anyone. The testing of aircraft is an extensive endeavor, not merely about assessing initial acceleration, but also involves numerous intricate procedures. Thus, after the testing of Tianluo No. 1, Tianqi No. 1, and the A255, it was already noon. The group paused their testing and headed to the cafeteria for a meal. In the cafeteria, Pei Su enjoyed a hearty meal of cabbage, pork, and vermicelli, which was delightfully aromatic. Indeed, the military chefs are exceptional. Su Sugu, Xiaohuo exclaimed, nearly drooling, his mouth stuffed with rice, speaking somewhat indistinctly. This meal is truly exquisite. Why is this cabbage, pork, and vermicelli so much better than what we have in our cafeteria? Pei Su set down his chopsticks, sipped some soup, and replied, the military engages in considerable physical activity, hence the richer meals. Moreover, we haven't had the chance to enjoy good food lately, so it tastes remarkable. In truth, the meals at Lonka University's cafeteria aren't bad. There are indeed tasty options. It's just that during research, we became too engrossed and overlooked the joy of dining. In such circumstances, even the most delicious food tastes like cardboard. Back then, the three of us wished we could just consume protein bars to save time for research. Now that the research is complete, we can truly savor the flavors of our meals. Xiaohu fell silent, continuing to focus on his meal. The intense dedication to their research had taken a toll, causing the three of them to lose an astonishing 40 pounds over 3 months. They were indeed quite ravenous at this moment. Just as Pei Su was finishing his third bowl of rice, with oil glistening on his lips, he heard his name called. Hey, Pei Su. Upon looking up, he saw Wang Qingyu and her companions. Wang Qingyu held a tray, followed by Li Bei and Zhang Ming. The three sat beside Pei Su, and as soon as they settled, Li Bei and Zhang Ming began to devour their food with fervor. Wang Qingyu, however, remained calm and said, I would like to ask you for a favor. Pei Su paused his meal and inquired, what is it? Wang Qingyu quietly explained, the clock device was inspired by you, and our aircraft heavily relies on the acceleration provided by the clock device. Therefore, during the afternoon's presentation, I would like to invite you to help us explain the technology of the Daoyuo. Pei Su understood, it was essentially a matter of intellectual property. Wang Qingyu and her team learned about the clock device from him, and since Daoyuo heavily depended on this technology, having Pei Su present it would clarify the concept for everyone. Of course, Pei Su nodded. Thank you. Wang Qingyu seemed to breathe a sigh of relief and resumed her meal with vigor. In the afternoon, they returned to the Wind Tunnel Laboratory, and it was now Lonka University's turn. Wang Hongxia, Zhao Linghua, and Qi Tianyun's gazes were fixated on Lonka University's team, primarily on Pei Su. Just as old Qin had previously stated, it was not one person but a multitude who were keenly observing Pei Su. As the originator of the 8th-generation aircraft concept, many were curious about what Pei Su would present. The Wind Tunnel Laboratory in the afternoon also welcomed an additional guest, Major General Chu. He stood beside the Wind Tunnel Laboratory, greeting Pei Su with a smile. Little Pei, long time no see. How have you been? Pei Su felt a warm familiarity upon seeing Major General Chu and replied with a smile, quite well. I was busy this morning, so I couldn't come. I heard you were here during lunch, so I postponed my matters to come see you this afternoon. Major General Chu approached, playfully teasing. Who is this girl beside you? Is she your girlfriend? Just a classmate, Pei Su responded, feeling a bit embarrassed. Zhao Linghua, unable to bear it any longer, called Major General Chu over. Chu merely smirked and stepped aside. Hello everyone, I am Pei Su, and today I will explain an important technology of Daoyuo. Hello, I am Wang Qingyu, and I will explain other significant technologies of Daoyuo. As the two stood before the crowd, the 8th-generation aircraft named Daoyuo slowly made its entrance. Upon seeing the actual aircraft, the atmosphere felt eerily quiet. Wang Hongxia, puzzled, removed his reading glasses, polished them, and put them back on. Zhao Linghua and Qi Tianyun exchanged glances, both reflecting confusion. Major General Chu's mouth dropped open as he gazed at the actual aircraft, which was no larger than a basketball. Why is it so small? Su Zhihui and Zhao Ling stood nearby, equally bewildered. Why is this aircraft so small? Li Jing and Wang Jun were similarly perplexed. The 8th-generation aircraft, due to the need to reach space, must achieve the second cosmic velocity. But what is the standard for the second cosmic velocity? It is a speed of 112 kilometers per second. How can such a small aircraft attain that velocity? Everyone felt a sense of confusion. Nevertheless, Daoyuo ultimately entered the Wind Tunnel Laboratory, and Zhao Linghua pressed the high-speed start button. As the internal wind pressure of the laboratory began to rise, a fierce gale erupted. Pei Su's voice gradually filled the air. I must explain one of Daoyuo's core technologies, the clock device. The clock device is inspired by the cyclotron accelerator, and I have developed a theoretical framework for it, which I shall refer to as the clock, disk, and donkey theory. However, I must clarify that the Daoyuo is not primarily my creation, thus, the donkey theory does not apply here, as it is relevant only to the clock and disk theory. Just as Pei Su is about to elucidate the underlying principles, confusion reigns in the audience. Wait. Zhao Linghua cannot contain himself and interjects. I understand your eagerness, but please, first explain what the clock, disk, and donkey theory entails. Chapter 46. Are there still experts? What precisely is the clock, disk, and donkey theory? The assembly finds it challenging to grasp the ingenious and whimsical words emanating from Su Hao. Faced with this theory, Pei Su explains, to comprehend the clock, disk, and donkey theory, one must first understand the meanings of clock, disk, and donkey. The so-called clock is, in essence, a different iteration of the cyclotron accelerator. Typically, cyclotrons feature extended tracks, allowing the aircraft to gain heightened acceleration. Yet, our clock device reimagines the aircraft as the pointer within the clock, while the acceleration path of the cyclotron serves as the clock's 12 o'clock face. Pei Su gazes at the audience and softly states, the clock device is, in fact, a modified version of a cyclotron accelerator. As the clock incessantly rotates, the aircraft, acting as the pointer, continuously gains acceleration throughout this rotational process, ultimately achieving the second cosmic velocity and breaking free from Earth's gravitational pull. No sooner had his words concluded than a deafening roar seized everyone's attention. The ceiling of the wind tunnel laboratory opened, signifying that DeLuo had reached the second cosmic velocity within the confines of the wind tunnel laboratory. At that moment, Zhao Lingwa pressed the timer, noting the time, 1 minute and 34 seconds. 1.5 minutes. This speed surpasses that of all aircraft. It is significantly faster than the Lonka Institute's A255, the Kyoto University Laboratories Tianluo No. 1, and the Magic City Military Industrial Laboratories Tianqi No. 1. At this juncture, Wang Qingyu began to speak. Due to the clock device's influence, we had a sudden inspiration. Just as Commander Zhao demonstrated how effortlessly a stone could reach the second cosmic velocity, lighter objects gain greater speed when accelerated. Thus, from an extreme lightweight perspective, we have minimized all unnecessary weight and power consumption on the 8th-generation aircraft. In this regard, we diverge entirely from the Lonka Institute's A255. However, I believe we have achieved a certain level of extremity. At this point, a glimmer sparkled in Wang Qingyu's eyes. If the Lonka Institute has perfected weighty aircraft, then we have taken lightweight design to an unfathomable extent. It can perform all functions except for AI capabilities, perfectly aligning with all 8th-generation aircraft standards, excluding AI specifications. As Wang Qingyu elaborated, the audience could not suppress their gasps of astonishment. 1.5 minutes. Accelerating from 0 to a speed of 112 kilometers per second in merely 1.5 minutes. What an astonishing feat. To put it in perspective, among the myriad of data disclosed about current aircraft, the fastest is not the domestic 6th-generation aircraft, but rather a test aircraft, the American X-15. The X-15's maximum speed reached 672 Mach, and it took approximately 2 minutes to accelerate from 0 to that velocity. 2 minutes. In contrast, this 8th-generation aircraft, no larger than a basketball and named DeLuo, not only adheres to all 8th-generation aircraft standards, excluding AI specifications, but also brings the achievement of second cosmic velocity down to 1.5 minutes. Should this data be disclosed, it would undoubtedly shatter world records. However, Wang Qingyu added, although its acceleration is currently the fastest, this does not signify much. Much like a marine creature known as the mantis shrimp, which possesses a structure that allows its claws to deliver a strike equivalent to a small caliber bullet, traveling at a speed of 23 meters per second and exerting approximately 500 newtons of force. Yet, if it were larger, it would still fall prey to larger predators. At this point, Wang Qingyu lamented, if only we had more time, we could refine everything even further, perhaps integrating specialized AI computing components while maintaining extreme lightweight design. At this moment, the audience could not help but applaud the young woman. Indeed, quite remarkable. Major General Chu stepped forward, nodding at the two. Although DeLuo's technology remains somewhat rudimentary, its conceptualization and practical application have genuinely astonished us. Wang Hongzhe also nodded slowly. Indeed, the clock device centered around the cyclotron has effectively addressed significant challenges faced by small 8th-generation aircraft. Zhao Lingwa wore a broad smile. Perhaps future 8th-generation aircraft will adopt the clock device for acceleration. The assembly nodded in agreement. The clock device is the crowning achievement of DeLuo. Its uniqueness lies in its ability to provide additional power beyond the engine without imposing significant burdens on the aircraft, thereby enhancing acceleration and ultimate speed. A magnificent endeavor. The clock device holds immense potential. Pei and Wang, we should discuss collaboration further. Li Jing and Wang Jun exchanged glances, both exhibiting appreciation. They keenly recognized the vast potential concealed beneath the surface of the clock device, understanding that it could provide additional power beyond the engine. In other words, it could amplify the kinetic energy of all aircraft, enhancing maximum speed and acceleration. Lu Saran whispered, quickly, capture this moment. The photographer hurriedly snapped what may very well become a historic photograph. In the image, the backdrop is a wind tunnel laboratory, its ceiling open to reveal a cerulean sky. In the foreground stand Pei Su, Wang Qingyu, Xiaohua, Chen Ke, Li Bei, and Zhang Ming together, while Li Jing, Su Zhihui, Wang Jun, and Zhao Ling stand in another group. These individuals exude vigor and ambition. Meanwhile, the two military district commanders, Zhao Lingwa and Qi Tianyun, stand to the side. Their astonishment unmistakable. Major General Chu stands behind, earnestly observing Pei Su, admiration nearly overflowing from his eyes. Wang Hongzhe, Li Yong, Wang Jiang, and Old Qin form a line, smiles adorning their faces. The individuals present here can be considered the creme de la creme of military science. Click. A flash of light flickered. Yet, just as everyone assumes that DeLuo is the brainchild of Pei Su, Wang Qingyu, and their collaborators, Pei Su sheepishly scratches his head and admits, DeLuo was developed by Wang Qingyu, Zhang Ming, and Li Bei. The 8th-generation aircraft that Xiaohua and Chen Ke and I have created has yet to be showcased. The room fell silent. Major General Chu exclaimed, are there still experts? Chapter 47. The ultimate 59 seconds of memoir. As Pei Su and Wang Qingyu serve as the narrators for the DeLuo The crowd initially assumes that Deluo is the 8th generation machine developed collectively by all members of the Dragon Talent class. They remain oblivious to the existence of another machine, one that Pei Su has primarily researched. The eyes of the crowd converge on Pei Su. Zhao Linghua, somewhat perplexed, inquires, "But aren't you the narrator for Deluo?" "Indeed," Pei Su replies matter-of-factly. "The clock mechanism technology on Deluo was provided by me, which justifies my role as its narrator." "Oh, that certainly seems reasonable." Zhao Linghua muses, bemused by this delightful misunderstanding. He quickly gestures for Major General Chu to bring Pei Su's 8th generation machine over. Upon hearing this, Major General Chu exits the wind tunnel laboratory. Shortly thereafter, a startled exclamation resounds from outside. "What the?" It is the voice of Major General Chu. The crowd, hearing this, steps outside the wind tunnel laboratory, puzzled. Although Major General Chu is not typically a composed individual, what could possibly elicit such an outburst from a man of his rank? Upon exiting the laboratory, they are left speechless. What the? Before them lies an oval-shaped, disc-like aircraft, its silvery hue reflecting a unique sense of science fiction under the sun's rays. This is no mere cinematic flying saucer. It is a genuine UFO, exuding an unparalleled quality. As the disc comes into view, even Elder Qin cannot help but feel a flutter in his eye. Though he had witnessed the true forms of Shuiguang and Deluo earlier that morning, the absence of sunlight then rendered the experience different. Now, in the sunlight, Shuiguang radiates an extraordinary beauty, transcending ordinary science fiction to evoke a sensation of fantasy merging with reality. Bathed in sunlight, it appears as a flowing liquid light, emanating an air of mystery and obscurity. Its silvery color, coupled with surrounding sensors and an almost golden ratio oval design, creates an overwhelming sense of unreality. Moreover, it is astonishingly large, comparable to a small truck. After witnessing the relatively basketball-sized Deluo, the impact of seeing this truck-sized Shuiguang is even more profound. Gulping, Major General Chu points at Shuiguang and asks, "Is this the 8th generation machine you've researched?" Pei Su nods affirmatively. "Yes, indeed." A moment of silence ensues. Major General Chu decides to dispatch Li Ming, instructing him to maneuver this extraordinary machine into the wind tunnel laboratory. However, Li Ming is adamant in his refusal. "Chief, while I am the top pilot among my peers, I have only flown conventional aircraft. I've piloted planes, rockets, and even tanks and armored vehicles. But I've never operated a UFO." He is genuinely concerned about the potential for disaster. Pei Su quickly reassures him. It is equipped with an AI module, highly intelligent and capable of autonomous flight. Skeptical yet intrigued, Li Ming reluctantly climbs into the disc and activates the AI system. "Shall I use the sensors to automatically scan the route?" he tentatively asks. "Yes," the AI responds. "Please specify the destination." Li Ming continues, "The wind tunnel laboratory ahead. I need you to navigate precisely inside, scanning the surroundings to avoid collisions." "Understood." To his astonishment, the disc begins to move. Li Ming's eyes widen at this unbelievable spectacle. Meanwhile, onlookers witness this almost surreal scene unfolding before them. Ultimately, they can only exclaim, "Science fiction has become reality." It is indeed astonishing, leaving even these scientific minds in awe. "Pei Su, you truly are remarkable." Inside the wind tunnel laboratory, the disc-shaped 8th generation machine successfully enters. Standing before the audience, Pei Su announces, "Greetings, everyone. The 8th generation machine we have developed is named Shuiguang. It was born at the end of November, coinciding with a snowstorm that lasted a day and a night. I felt it was a calling, a silent understanding, hence the name, Shuiguang." Pei Su elaborates on the origin of Shuiguang with a passion akin to unveiling his life's greatest achievement. Addressing the assembly, his tone fluctuates between fervent, gentle, light, and grave, as if presenting a matter of utmost significance. He has come to view Shuiguang as the muse of his life, akin to his own David. From the moment he sketched the concept of the 8th generation machine during his college entrance examination, he resolved to create it. This ambition stemmed not from any external motivation, but from an intrinsic love for advanced technology, a fervent passion bordering on obsession. At that moment, he knew he was destined for this path. Now, standing before the titans of the military science community, Pei Su exudes confidence as he meticulously narrates the intricacies of Shuiguang. The clock mechanism, the discus, and the donkey theory are manifestations of Shuiguang's design. The clock mechanism operates like a timepiece, while the discus reflects the internal 8th generation machine, achieving sufficient acceleration akin to an Olympic athlete's spinning discus. Regarding the donkey theory, it pertains to the donkey cart principle. I have installed a rocket engine and a solar-powered modified rocket engine within Shuiguang. In other words, both the cyclotron and the aircraft itself possess adequate propulsion capabilities. During most flight operations, one side engages while the other remains idle, ensuring maximum endurance. The imagery, Pei Su spreads his hands, is akin to a donkey pulling a cart. Thus, we arrive at the clock mechanism, discus, and donkey theory. Shuiguang is both an embodiment of this theory and a testament to my efforts in enriching it. Upon hearing this, the crowd's confusion dissipates. They now comprehend the essence of the clock mechanism, discus, and donkey theory. It is both tangible and holds significant research value. The clock mechanism alone harbors immense potential, let alone the innovative idea of housing two engines within the cyclotron and aircraft. Zhao Lingua interjects. I recall the hand-drawn diagram you submitted during the examination, detailing the 8th generation machine. You mentioned allocating 50 tons for the installation of an AI local server. However, why did you ultimately deviate from that design concept, opting for a disk-like aircraft instead? With a smile, Pei Su responds. That hand-drawn diagram had already indicated the direction for a large 8th generation machine. Now, I have developed a medium-sized 8th generation machine. Does this not signify that our 8th generation technology has matured? Hearing this, Zhao Lingua chuckles. What a bold statement. I like it. Pei Su's meaning is quite straightforward. Exceptionally so. He essentially conveys that he has not only completed the previous task, but has also resolved a more significant issue for them. The notion that with greater ability comes greater responsibility rings true in Pei Su's assertion. The large 8th generation aircraft was born the moment Pei Su sketched the design by hand. The A255 developed by the Dragon Institute is a product based on that very sketch. Subsequently, Pei Su turned his attention to solving the problems associated with the mid-sized and small 8th generation aircraft. Remarkably, he succeeded in his research. His words are audacious, and his actions are as steady as a seasoned veteran, exhibiting extraordinary strength. At this moment, Zhao Lingua felt a profound admiration rise within him. Is it shameful to respect someone a generation younger? Yet, Zhao Lingua felt no embarrassment. This individual possesses remarkable abilities that demand respect. Age is no measure of one's capabilities. Suddenly, Zhao Lingua lifted his head, hearing the familiar hum. The wind tunnel laboratory's ceiling had opened. He exclaimed, "How can it be so fast?" Although it seemed they had engaged in extensive discussion, it had only been about a minute, if not less. The shocking data left Zhao Lingua momentarily stunned, taking a couple of seconds before he pressed the timer. Time, 59 seconds. Zhao Lingua stood there, utterly dazed. What's wrong? Others noticed his stupor and rushed over, eagerly peering at the timer. Chapter 48. Can youth be anything but audacious? As the crowd was puzzled, they moved closer to observe the new timer in Zhao Lingua's hand. This innovative timer boasts numerous functions, providing a wealth of data. Today's maximum temperature, 5 degrees. Minimum temperature, -3 degrees. Weather forecast, possible light snow. Humidity, 50. Current temperature, 26 degrees. Time, 5,909 seconds. 59 seconds? Someone murmured almost incredulously. The crowd quickly grasped this crucial piece of information. 59 seconds? How is that possible? Although they could clearly sense that the speed of the Shuiguang was significantly faster than that of the Daoyuo, the A255, and the Tianqi No. 1 and Tianluo No. 1. 59 seconds seemed implausible. This defied the laws of science. A strong sense of absurdity surged within them. Wang Hongzhe, witnessing this scene, was equally bewildered. He couldn't help but look at Elder Qin, asking, Elder Qin, did you already know about all this? 59 seconds to reach the second cosmic velocity. What an astonishing figure. A simple calculation reveals that the second cosmic velocity is 112 kilometers per second. If one were to accelerate from 0 to that speed in 59 seconds, it would mean an acceleration of 0.18 kilometers per second. This is an extraordinary figure, an accumulated acceleration of 180 meters per second. Even on an international scale, no such fast accelerating aircraft exists. Yet Pei Su, alongside a handful of young individuals not much older than Wang Hongzhe, managed to produce such an astonishing acceleration figure in just 3 months. Who would believe that? It felt almost magical. When Wang Hongzhe looked at Elder Qin, he noticed surprise lurking deep within the elder's gaze. It appeared that Elder Qin had not anticipated Pei Su's remarkable capabilities in this domain. At that moment, Zhao Lingua, having regained his senses, hastily declared, the data is erroneous. There's a delay. Upon hearing this, the crowd let out a collective sigh of relief. What? So the data was flawed? They mused. How could a child possibly advance this industry to such a fantastical extent? Surely, the data should have been over a minute. Thus, compared to the 1.5-minute Daoyuo and the 2-minute A255, although still astonishing, it seemed less unbelievable. However, just as they thought this, Zhao Lingua's voice pierced through the wind tunnel laboratory. The actual data should be around 57 seconds. I pressed it 2 seconds late. An earth-shattering revelation. What? Are you joking? Old Zhao? Wang Hongzhe exclaimed, unable to contain his astonishment. Zhao Lingua replied calmly, I wouldn't dare joke in such a serious setting. Li Jing furrowed his brow. 57 seconds? That figure is quite unbelievable. Wang Jun added, I too find it hard to imagine. Meanwhile, Su Zhihui and Zhao Lin exchanged glances, a sense of unreality washing over them. How could one describe this feeling? It was as if they believed their cousin was a promising young scientist destined for greatness, only to suddenly discover that he had replaced his brain with an AI server. In summary, he does not behave like a human. If he were an ordinary human, how could he have developed such a formidable aircraft in just 3 months? That is impossible. Indeed, My cousin must have been possessed by someone else, or perhaps he has been upgraded with an AI brain.